All right, we are live. Welcome to the live chat for Monday, August 8th, 2022. Of course, off last week, decided to do the live chat for today, and then we come back to a regular schedule on next Wednesday. We go back to normal. I wanted to cover a couple of topics here, and I recognize Monday is going to be difficult to have a lot of people come in, so if there isn't a lot of people, we'll answer the questions that you have, and then we'll shut it down. So we'll see how this plays out, because I recognize that Monday, I already had like a lot of regulars already email me saying, hey, I might not be able to make it because, Monday, fun day, it's just another chaotic Monday. So I get it. One thing that is very interesting is the tropical Atlantic is starting to get active again. We have one disturbance which we're going to take a look at this evening. We have a few thunderstorms that have popped up around the region that we'll take a quick look at. And also, it looks like we're getting ready to set up, thank God, a pattern change. Because I don't know about you guys, but I am done with this heat. I'm done. I don't know. These people who love the summer and love the heat and humidity, you're sick. It's not right, okay? I can't take this heat anymore. Bring me back fall and winter. And I just miss it. I'm ready for pumpkin spice. I am. I'm ready. So let's take a look at what's going on in the tropical Atlantic first, and then we'll jump to what's going on around our region. And if I can click the right thing. Okay, here we go. Okay. So the Atlantic has been pretty quiet, and the reason why is because of all of this Sahara dust. But it's starting to break up and starting to weaken, and that has allowed for a slightly better environment for development. And so now we are watching this disturbance right here. It has a mid-level circulation, has some convection. Look, this isn't a gangbuster type storm or anything of that nature. Unfortunately, on social media, I think on YouTube, there were some individuals that posted some ridiculous nonsense of a major hurricane approaching and threats for Gulf of Mexico to the East Coast, and it was incredibly irresponsible. Mostly because there isn't even not even the GFS that tends to blow these storms up to unrealistic proportions, didn't have anything near that. So, look, it's possibly a tropical depression, but nothing really significant is on the way in terms of any type of rapid development. We can take a look at the water vapor satellite picture. If I could pick the right one, there it is. Here is our whole weather pattern really set up here from Africa all the way to the central United States. We have a trough that's starting to dig over portions of the Great Lakes that is starting to run headlong into our Western Atlantic Ridge. Our Western Atlantic Ridge has strengthened, built into the East Coast, giving us a hot and humid weather pattern. Meanwhile, another ridge that's over northern Africa has been sending dust and dry air into the Atlantic Ocean from the Sahara Desert, and for the most part that has suppressed our storms. But in this case, we have this little disturbance right here, and this little mid-level shortwave here that we'll have to keep an eye on. These will continue to march across what we call the intertropical convergence zone. This is where the trade winds kind of converge at the surface, and so you start to get this convection taking place here. This feature right here will try to track under all of this dry air, and it could potentially reach portions of the greater Antilles, right around this area right here, as a closed low. Not a major hurricane, not anything significantly strong, but it could approach as an organized low pressure system. That's literally the only thing you can really say right now in terms of potential development. Anything other than that is really irresponsible. So that is really what all that's going on in the tropical Atlantic. There are some hints in some of the model guidance. Let me see here. I think I have it up here. Here it is. In some of the European guidance, of more development coming off the African coast. But as you can see, there's nothing really concrete that really says, like, hey, look, we need to really be mindful of any type of major storms or anything of that nature. At this point, we just have a scenario where we have one tropical low that we have to keep an eye on, and that's pretty much about it. And in fact, a lot of the low pressure systems that are developing off of the African coast around the Cape Verde Islands is basically recurving back off into the northeastern Atlantic. So nothing imminent, okay? Nothing imminent on the way, but we could get a tropical depression. That's pretty much the whole story there. Meanwhile, closer to home, we have some showers and thunderstorms here. They are below severe levels. So you might be wondering, why are they below severe levels? Well, take a look at our SKU-T. You have the instability. That's not lacking at all. You certainly have the moisture with precipitate water values well above 1.5. This is why we've been getting those heavy downpours with some of these thunderstorms, but they're hit and miss. There isn't much in the way of vertical wind shear, though. It's all focused up here towards the trough. So right now, what you end up with are slow-moving thunderstorms and showers capable of heavy downpours, but nothing that's really all that impressive. And in fact, even now, let's take a look at the instability in the atmosphere. We're starting to get capped because we're cooling off in the evening, but you can see what the potential is. If we break that cap, you could spark a strong thunderstorm in this type of environment. If we had any type of vertical wind shear, it would have been severe, but we don't see that just yet. And then finally, let's talk about our weather pattern. The key to changing this weather pattern is first you have to change what's going on in the Pacific Ocean. And what I've been watching for, is to see if we start to get below normal heights here. If we start to get more below normal heights here, then you'll start to see a ridge build here and a trough build over the eastern United States. So this is the European, the GFS ensembles, and the European ensembles. So if you come to an agreement with these models, if they all kind of show the same thing, you never look verbatim, but kind of look for a basic average of the same type of scenario playing out. And so on the European, there's our trough taking shape, and there's our trough in the east. See, below normal heights here, below normal heights here. Western Atlantic Ridge gets pushed off. Now, does the same thing happen on the GFS? Again, it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned, but generally, yes, the same type of scenario. How about the GFS ensembles? Yep, same thing. And guess what? Same thing with the European ensembles. So what does this mean? Well, what we have set up now is a high potential here where we actually get an increased potential for a widespread rainfall event. And the model guidance, both the GFS and the European and the ensembles and the CMC, which is the Canadian, all show the potential for an East Coast widespread rainfall event for the end of the 10-day period. And that's showing up very nicely on the European. And it's also showing up on the GFS. In fact, here, let me pull up the different solutions here. This is it. So here's the GFS solution. And we'll go on to day 10. You see kind of same thing, or broad low and development. Same thing on the European. Same thing on the Canadian. And the UK Met's a little bit too far out. So what this tells me is that I'm pretty confident right now that we've seen the worst of summer. And at this point now, we're going to be doing a step down. And the pattern's going to evolve such that we're going to start to see a higher potential for cyclogenesis and low pressure systems along the East Coast. Now, in order to get there, we're going to have to get some strong showers and thunderstorms, some strong cold fronts to move through. That is showing up on Wednesday. I'm not convinced yet of severe thunderstorms for Wednesday. And let me show you why. And right, well, if it loads, I apologize. There it is. Okay, so on Wednesday evening, which is Thursday 0Z, notice all of your strong lifting and all your best divergence and diffluence, that's this area right here, is all focused well to the north of us. What this tells me is that we're not seeing a lot in terms of vertical wind shear. In fact, I can even break down the winds during this time period. Let me go right here. And again, during that time period, your upper level winds are focused well to the north up here. So you're not getting much support from the upper level winds, not much from jet streaks or anything of that nature. And your mid-level winds, your winds at 850 millibars, they're around 10 to 15 knots. Not very much in the way of vertical wind shear at all. All your strong vertical wind shear is actually focused up here, up towards northern New England and Maine. So while I do expect showers and thunderstorms, I do expect some pretty strong thunderstorms in terms of heavy rainfall. I don't see this as a severe weather event, in my opinion. But we'll definitely keep an eye on that. So that's pretty much the themes I wanted to share for this evening, in that we're dealing with a changing weather pattern. So I see a little bit more activity in the tropical Atlantic, and the thunderstorm threat evolution is pretty much focused on, I would say, heavy rainfall rather than severe thunderstorms. So let me take some of your questions here that we have for tonight. Hit 98 in Newark Airport, a couple degrees lower in the surrounding areas, showing that even in the heat island, Newark Airport records higher temperatures than the rest of the heat island. There has been some debate on what's going on with Newark. I believe that the National Weather Service is planning on sending up an investigation, but I haven't heard anything concrete. But that's kind of the rumor in the back. So we'll see if something changes with that. But I wouldn't call Newark's... See, here's the thing. Newark's setup is such that there's nothing fundamental that what they're doing is wrong, okay, in terms of how they have their observations set up. It's not like it's like right next to a jet or something, you know. So it's going to be curious to see what they find. That could be a perfect example of an amazing urban heat island effect. Looks like 250 millibars. There is a mostly closed upper level low right over the northern mid-Atlantic that seems to almost cut off looking at Earth News School. All right, let's take a look at that. Let's see here. 250 millibars. We'll zoom out. And what do we have here? That must mean this. Closed up. It's not a closed upper level low. This is a closed upper level anticyclone. If it was an upper level low, notice here. Here's our Western Atlantic Ridge. Notice the circulation. It's a ridge extension. This is an upper level low, right here. An upper level low would be rotating this way. This is a ridge extension of the Western Atlantic Ridge at 250 millibars. I expect showers and thunderstorms to die out completely by the time anything gets to Union. Yeah, unfortunately, that's been the trend. Are stronger thunderstorms expected Tuesday or Wednesday? It seems like most weekend before they get here. Tuesday will still feature, tomorrow will feature mostly isolated thunderstorms. Wednesday will feature more of the widespread thunderstorms. But Tuesday actually has a higher potential because there's more instability in the atmosphere for a severe thunderstorm to develop, whereas Wednesday is more of a widespread, but a little bit weaker. Other observations from Earth from school, 850 down to surface is reflective of it being height of summer with minimal cold air. Yep, pretty much. What do the sea surface temps look like, and any changes in end snow or... let's take a look here. Not much change has really occurred. We still have a clear negative AMO signature here. Again, beware of anything that tries to pop around here over the northwestern Atlantic, right around the mid-Atlantic. I am very concerned about that scenario playing out. Weak La Nina signals clearly in place. Weak negative PDO signal in place. But not much has really changed. The Indian Ocean has cooled off a bit. But pretty much everything I've been discussing for a couple of weeks is pretty much still in place. Any change to the MJO evolution? Any surprises with that or end zone? Right now, nothing. Pretty much the MJO is neutral. And it looks like it's going to stay that way. You could look at pretty much almost any model. At most, you have guidance suggesting maybe a weak end zone event, weak MJO event, but that it's not very impressive at all. And in this environment, the La Nina influence would overwhelm it. And in fact, your SOI index clearly still supports a La Nina influence. After we had a little bit of a negative period in July, we have been strongly positive since, which tells me that La Nina's influence will remain in place for some time, at least through the early fall. Let me just take a look and see what's going on YouTube here. Sounds like it'll be a gentler transition to fall this year. Does this type of transition set the stage for gentler moved into winter, or still up in the air, so to speak? I would say that fall still has some tricks up its sleeve. And I wouldn't let your guard down, especially for East Coast cyclogenesis, i.e. nor'easters in the middle and end of fall. I'm wary of tropical development and how that's going to influence the pattern, especially with the NAO. I don't know. That's a wild card. I don't know how to answer that yet. In terms of winter, it's going to be very interesting because of this reason. La Nina's fading. You don't really have anything to replace it. The MJO is kind of muted. Solar influences are kind of all over the place. And we have the case for below normal sea ice and above normal snowfall in Siberia possibly returning once again. So you have a lot of different signals showing up for winter that I'm starting to read. And sometimes when you have that type of scenario, one particular driver takes control and creates a very dynamic winter. And sometimes they clash so much that you just end up with a zonal pattern. So my struggle right now is to try to figure out where do I want to take this pattern. And part of that is going to depend on how the polar jet stream reacts in October as we start to get our temperate changes that we normally get. We start to get stronger polar air masses. Do we start to see a higher frequency of high latitude blocking? Or do we see more of a predominant screaming Pacific jet right across the Pacific and into the West Coast? That I don't know yet. And the reason why I don't know yet is because I'm just seeing a lot of different signals. The summer reminds me a lot of summer of 1999. Yeah, I could see some comparisons to that. I could definitely see some. Huh? Yeah, I could definitely see some. You know what, though? That summer, you had a lot more widespread 100-degree temperatures, whereas this summer has been more focused in pretty much Newark. You know? We've had a lot of 99s, 98s. This summer is more humid than that summer. This summer is the type of summer where, and I warned about this, and again, this kind of ties back into global warming and everything, that my primary concern was not going to be the higher temperatures, the higher surface temperatures, because you have a cap on how hot you can go via the 850 millibar temperatures. My concern has been and always will be your precipitable water in the atmosphere, because the higher humidity you have, the worse the heat index, and that's what really gets you. Not the high temperature, it's the heat index. It's the water content in the atmosphere, because the higher water content you have in the atmosphere, the harder it is to cool down, the harder it is to relieve yourself and to overcome the heat. And it puts more tax on your body. And it puts more tax on the energy system, on the energy structure, to cool, to have the air conditioner running. So all of those factors, I think, come into play. And then you throw in the urban heat island effect, where that heat and humidity doesn't escape very well. And you'll see an example of that tonight. In fact, take a look at our temperatures. All right, right now it is 8:22 p.m. and on Long Island it's 77, 78 degrees. Now let's take a look at New York City. See, Newark is at 92. LaGuardia is at 86. New York City itself is 88. So you have a 10-degree thermal gradient right here. That is a perfect example of an urban heat island. And what happens is that this whole area right here, because of all the concrete, and you got the airports, and you have all your, by the way, you have all of your industrial complexes right here as well, adding into the heat. Well, you combine all of that together, and what you end up with is a scenario where this area does not cool down very much. We'll probably be seeing lows in the around 80 degrees. Meanwhile, locations like in Queens, JFK, Nassau, they'll be falling off into the mid-70s. Sure, it's not cool, but it's certainly better than 82. So that's pretty impressive, and you can see that pretty much showing up right along the I-95 corridor, right into Philadelphia. Look at the difference again between the suburbs and Philadelphia itself. Pretty impressive. You have a nice 10-degree thermal gradient. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect example of an urban heat island effect and how that influences the weather pattern. And by the way, this leads to thermal gradients and troughs that can enhance thunderstorm development in the right scenarios. So there's our trough right along the I-95 corridor, running right along that urban heat island effect. And here comes another line of showers and thunderstorms weakening as they come in. And you see how this is severe? Well, this is all driven by, if I click the right one, oh well, there it is, our trough here. Take a look at that. That's why you're having the severe thunderstorms around the eastern Great Lakes, stronger vertical wind shear, stronger lifting, and here comes our cold front. Will you be doing football forecasts this fall? I am debating doing it. I think I'm probably going to have to put a disclaimer this year saying that my forecast will not dictate the wins and losses of the games. I got a really strange couple of emails last year, but I think I'll put that factor in there. But I think I will be doing the football chat. Maybe Wednesday, they'll set up perfectly for Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. I think that would work out really well. So we'll definitely check that out. And probably add that. Definitely discussions on playoff baseball, because I'm going to have a team in the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. I am looking forward to that, especially after this past weekend. It'll be nice. We could do live chat and have the baseball on, the playoffs on at the same time. I'll probably lose my mind if the Mets take the lead, like in the World Series or whatnot. That'd be crazy. Do you think we are done with 90s or at least heat waves for the summer after this week, with the exception of typical urban heat island? That's a good question. I think we're done with the multiple 100-degree heat index days after this week. But I still think we'll still have the potential to spike up into like 91, 92 for 2-3 days before we get knocked down. The difference, James, is that now we're moving into a pattern where we go up to 92 and then we get knocked down to 80 or 78 instead of getting knocked down to 88 and then back right up to 90 the next day. So I think that we're going to see shorter heat bursts and more prolonged near normal to slightly below normal temperatures. Just put not to be used for wagering purposes. That's a good point, Carter. I think I'll put that in there. What happened at Citi Field with the brawl in the stands? I'm not sure, but I do know this. I was not there. That's pretty much all I know. I don't know. Apparently some Braves fan lost his mind, and and then some Met fan lost his mind, and everyone lost their mind, and that's why I don't go to the games. I'd rather watch them right here in my home with a nice pizza or some chicken or some ribs at home, and stay home. I listen to Gary, Keith, and Ron. I get great analysis. I get to see live replay again 15 times. I don't know. Also of note, days are getting steadily shorter. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So less time sun is heating the surface. That's true. You'll see that more in September as far as the influence than August. But yes, you're absolutely right. Any questions on YouTube? It's a lot quieter on YouTube. I guess some individuals decided not to show up. That's good. It's a lot quieter on YouTube. Oh, yeah. Well, Judy had a great question. All right. Let's see if there's anything popping up here that should catch my attention. Let's see, radar-wise. Now, some of these thunderstorms out here, not all of them are severe, but boy, I was checking the rainfall rates on these, and they're producing half an inch to an inch per hour in some of these thunderstorms. And they're moving awfully slow. I think that is going to be our real main concern on Wednesday. Let me see here. You have this rainfall coming in. And you have these showers and thunderstorms Wednesday and Thursday. Let's see. That's some pretty good rainfall here. Let's see what type of total rainfall that sets up. Yeah. Again, nothing that's going to break the drought, but could be anywhere between half an inch and a half of rain in some of these thunderstorms. So certainly some good amount of rainfall. When you get a bullseye like this, just for educational purposes, when you see a bullseye like this typically means you have convective feedback error in some of these outputs here. So beware of bullseyes. They're a signal that you're dealing with convective precipitation, but it's also a signal of some error involved in some of these calculations. Certainly keep an eye out on that. But this is textbook of a convective precipitation scenario. Any chance in Union County 178 corridor actually gets rain as portrayed, or do those model storms die out as they get here, as they have all summer? Given the environment they're in, I wouldn't bet on it. The scenario that I would look for rainfall for Union County and really much in New Jersey is the type of storm that's trying to pop up around August 17th. And the reason why is not so much like, oh, look, the models agree, so there should be a storm. But in terms of the type of storm that it is, this would be a storm driven by a isotropic lifting and stratospheric rainfall, which means you don't have to rely on thunderstorm development, which means you don't have to rely on any type of interruption in the latent heat release process or weakening of the thunderstorms. So this would be a scenario of getting like a steady, moderate rainfall. So I would like your chances better in that scenario during that time period. Now again, I would not trust the details. I do like the storm idea. I like the trough idea and the cyclogenesis idea. I just don't trust the details just yet. But that would be the scenario in which we generate our rainfall. Okay, do we have any more questions? I think that's about it. Okay, guys. Well, if we're not going to have any more questions, I think I'll call it a night for tonight. And save up my strength for when we have winter, and I probably go 2 hours overtime because we've been there. So I think I'm going to do that for tonight. Thank you again for joining. If you have any questions left, definitely send them in or drop them in the email. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Thank you as always, and as always, stay safe out there.